This is the first one back.
Okay, hello everyone. Happy Friday. Let's get started. So, as you know, Wednesday is our midterm exam. So what I did, I posted the practices that we are going to work on today, and also we are going to work on Monday. If you recall, that Monday was canceled because of like the weather, so we are missing one session. In my pipeline, I was supposed to go over 3 sessions of practice. Now we're going over 2 sessions of practice. So what I did, I posted that extra session as an extra practice. We're going to go over today a practice, and then on Monday, you can keep this as a like a last practice to prepare for the midterm exam. In case that you've studied and now you want to test yourself, it's the same data set that we are going to work on today, just different questions. You can keep it for that time, and then work on the queries, create the queries, and then compare it with the solution. So that's it. If you look at to Monday's session, I've prepared this like a page to just quickly give you an idea how you need to prepare for the midterm exam day, and also like the resources that you want to check for preparing for the midterm exam, the modules that we've covered. Also, I thought maybe like some of you have missed the session or like lost the file that we worked on during this like session. So I uploaded like the access files that we've created with the queries. So these are the access files with the queries that we create during the class. In case you're missing any of them and you want to go check them, you can download them and check them. Please study like the what you're going to expect for the midterm exam day and what you need to upload for the midterm exam. And then so come to the midterm exam prepare for this type of submission. I will try to review it just before the midterm exam also starts. Yes.
We're gonna get answer sheet for for the exams.
So they include the answers. If you mean like these, like include the queries with the answers. If you go to the section, it includes the questions. Okay, so you have the files here. For example, this one, do you see like the Melbourne housing? This is exactly this practice. Not this one. Was it this? No. It was the Melbourne housing practice we did here. Okay, so the questions are there. I only like included the file with the query, so you need to check like the file to see the query design for the questions. Okay. For some of the assignments, actually, I've added the solution too. So if you go back to March 2, there is a file with the screenshots of like some of the queries. Okay, you can check them as well. And also like the recordings from prior like semester is there as well. All right, any question? Okay. All right. Today we are going to work and like go over a set of questions. The data set access file is the same one that we worked I think a week ago on Friday. Okay, so it's the same access file. We created these queries. We created 4 queries for these 2 tables that we had: property listing and regional information. We created these queries. Okay, I can quickly review 2 of them. So we said we created. Let me close this. All right. So with a regular query, what you're doing, you're just reporting data from the table. Okay. So all the columns that you want exist in the table, or you can create them using like, let's say, calculated field. Okay. So here we had the property ID, suburb, rooms, region name, and then we didn't have a column, year column. So we needed to create it. That's when we went and create this. It's still a calculated field, but we wanted to only extract year from a date. This is the only case when we use a function, okay? When we want to extract date. This one is missing like year listed. All right, let me show it. All right. So first you specify the name of the column, add the column, and then the function. You have two options. Either you use the direct function like a year or month, or you use the format function. And then in the format function, you specify what you want to extract from a date. Is it a month or is it a year? For year, you use like for Y, for month, you use for M. So we created that, and then, okay, so you see, first, we needed to create this column, and then in the criteria row, we specify the exact value to filter the results. Okay, so you see here, I said 2016. For 2016, it was a year. We were looking for listed in 2016. So first, I needed to create the year and then filter it for 2016. And then for the region name, we use a parameter query. What's a parameter query? When the query asks you to prompt the user to enter a value and then use that to filter the results. For a parameter query, okay, if I zoom in the parameter query, this is what you have in the parameter query. Square brackets, and inside them a text that you will show to the user when the user gets prompted to enter the value. Okay, so this is a parameter query when the query is asking you to prompt the user. Let's see. Okay. Similarly, created a new column, listed year, and says less than 2016 or room greater than 2. So the criteria row is the row that you specify the exact value for filters, how you want to filter the result. If you don't have anything here in the criteria row, it's just a regular query trying to report tables, okay, report data from tables. Report data from tables. What happens when you apply criteria? You just say, I don't want all the outputs. I don't want everything out. I want a limited number of them. And then what are the limited number of these outputs? You specify the criteria for them to say, if they meet the criteria, then show them in the output table. Okay. So this is it. The only difference is that then you specify, for example, it has to be after 2016. You specify an exact criteria to limit the number of results that you show to the output and like to the user. Okay. Good. We're going to review some of them again here. So let's create a new query. Okay. And then work on this first question. So in this question, the first query is asking you to create a query that shows total number of property listings for each suburb. The output table should show suburb and number of properties. The first question is this a total query or regular query? If it's a total query, you have to have two components. Do you remember what are those two components for a total query? Remember, I said for a total query, we should look for two things. We are summarizing. When we talk about total query, the query is asking you to summarize the results. If it's a summary, you need to have group and then a calculation to specify that we are summarizing the results for this specific group. So we are looking for a group and we are looking for a calculation. Okay, one or more calculation for each group. For each group, we are doing calculation. Sometimes it can get confusing because we mention calculated fields and also calculation. The difference here is that when we say calculation, for example, average of prices, you have to look at multiple records in a table to calculate average of prices. But when we say the difference between listed price and sales price, that's just for the same row. For the same row, you look at the listings and say, this is the listing price for that property. This is the sales price. If I take the difference, I have the difference. Okay. So calculated field is trying to calculate a value for the same row. But the calculation in a total query, it has to look at multiple records in a table. In this case, the other things with the total queries is that look for these keywords per each. Okay. Usually what it comes after this is kind of like signaling you that this is the this is the group for a total query. However, it's not enough. It has to be this calculation too. Sometimes like the words come in the query, they can confuse people to say, oh, I saw this each, and then let's say like I found out this is a total query. I'll give you one example. It says for each listing, show me listed price and also like sales price. Is that a total query just because it has like each in it? No, each listing. It just says, look at each listing. It says, just look at each listing and tell me like the price differences. The keyword each is good to take your attention, but it's not good enough. Or to say, okay, once I saw it, it's a total query. I need to figure out that I will need calculation for each group that requires looking at multiple records in a table. Now, let's go back to this to check it. Says total number of property listings for each suburb. So here I see the keyword and say it's a suburb. So I'm looking for a suburb. I see that suburb here. Okay. So probably it's referencing to that group. And then for each suburb, what do I need to show? Total number of property listings. Is it just one value in this table? Is there somewhere we can see the total number of listings? That value doesn't exist strictly. Each one of them is a property. If you want to know total number of properties, you have to count the records here. You have to count the records here. That's when we say calculation. That applies for each group. So for each suburb, calculate how many listings we have. How many listings? Each record is a listing. If I want to know how many listings, I need to count the records. Right. I'm going to start from here and say, I will add this table here and say for each suburb, I'll just add the property ID. Why property ID? Property ID is the reference to a listing. Is a reference to a listing. If I add these two and run them, what do I see? For each listing, I will see the suburb name for each listing. And still every record here is just one listing. You can see the property ID is changing, and also it shows the suburb. Now I want to change it to say for each suburb, show me total number of listings. What we are looking for is a summary of this table. This table, but a summarized version that shows us for each suburb total listings. So added up, like or counted. So I will add the totals row here. Add the totals row. Okay. All right. So identify. I want to see for each suburb, group by suburb, I want to see how many properties we have. If that's the case, we need to count them for each suburb. So here, okay. Count. Okay. Now this time I've run it. Now I can see for each suburb an exact number that shows how many records existed for each suburb. It is summarizing for each group. I can see that, okay, to make sure that, let's say, think that should be at, if I filter it. All right, I'm gonna put this here so we make sure. Now you see, if once I name this, like a sign that only filters for this suburb, I only see one record because it is showing for each suburb, for each group, showing the total, like the result of the calculation. For each group or for each suburb, show total number of listings. If I saw two of them, that would be concerning. When I'm seeing for the same group, I'm seeing two records. Okay, I should be able to see one record. For now, because we only have one group, say group by suburb, count property. Fact, or it's not a fact, it's a common approach. Anytime you're counting the records in a table, in a total query, if you want to count the records in a table for a group, count properties for each suburb, use the primary key of that table. You add the primary key of that table. Because it's a reference to every property, it's just easier way to interpret it. To say count property. If you say count type, okay, instead of property ID, I'm going to use, like, for example, address and just count them. Is it correct? It will produce the same output. But if you want to interpret, you say count address. It is hard to explain it. Okay. Instead, if I use the property ID here, then I can say count properties. Now I can remember that I'm counting the properties for each suburb. Counting the properties for each suburb. All right. And then we can show them. We can sort the results again here, descending, to just see which suburb has more properties listed in this table. You can apply different like values here. Let's say you're looking, you want to see like suburbs that the total number of properties is greater than 200. Simply you can apply here, and then you only see the ones that they have more than 200 properties. Okay, this is not part of the query, so I will remove it. One more thing. Anytime you had this primary key, anytime you had a primary key of a table, you had a total query, and then you had the primary key added here, and under the primary key, you saw a calculation anything except count. You should tell yourself this is not correct. Okay. If you had a primary key of a table, and here you had a calculation, and you specified it anything other than count, you should tell yourself it is incorrect. Why? Let's think about this. If I change this to something else, let's say sum. You specified the property ID and added sum. Let's remember like early conversations. Primary key is a unique identifier, is a random number, is uniquely identifies every record in a table. If it is random and if it is unique, if you add them up, what is the result? You're just adding up random numbers, right? So it's not the correct calculation. And you can see that if you add them up, you will see these large numbers, and you go back to your table and say, I don't have that many records in the table. Okay, I don't have that many records in the table. Let me see if it shows. I have like 11,000 records here. Okay, this one is like 150, 1,500,000 in just one record. So you just added up like a set of random numbers, and that's why you get such big numbers. So primary key is unique, and we cannot do any calculation except just using it as a way to count the records. Okay. All right. Question. Okay. Yes. Let me bring back this here. And okay, let's focus on the next one. Create a query that shows total number of property listings for each year. The output table should show listing for should show listing year and number of properties listed in that year. Is this a total query or regular query? If it is a total query, think about this group calculation. Do I see anything that is referencing to like some type of like group? Anyone? Yes. It's a total query. Okay, what is your group? Okay, total number of property listings.
Oh, the date is.
Exactly. So for each year, right? So for each year, total number of property listings. Okay. So that's how we can distinguish them. Say for each year, what is the calculation? Total number of listings, right? Total number of listings. All right. So that's what you like if you check this like each year, and you're saying for each year, do I need to do a calculation? Let's look at this. Do I have the total number of listings right away? No. Each listing for itself, it just shows you just a listing and also lists the date. But I'm looking for total number of listings. Total number of listings. Generally, I have 11,000 number of listings. That's the total number of records in this table, like roughly like 11,000. But now it says, I don't want just the total, I want it for each year. So instead of like telling me that's how many records you have, tell me how many I have for each year. And then I look at it and say, I have the listing date. I don't have the year, but I have the listing date. I just need to extract years from that date to be able to show you the result for this query. So I will add it here and then go to build. Okay. First, I need to build that expression of like the year. So in this case, listed year. Listed year. Okay. We have two options: format function, year function. Their difference is not that much. I guess the only difference comes when you're thinking about extracting months. Format function, when you use it to extract months, it will show you character. It will show you the name of the months, like July, August, September. But if you use months, it will show you the number of that month, not a character. That's the only difference. So here we are working on year. We can use the year function. It will give us a number, like a year of each property listing. Okay, so I will add this inside the parentheses. So year parentheses, and then the column, the date column that you want to extract the year from. and then close the parentheses. It has to start with a name for that column, and then immediately after that, a column. Okay. Now, I'm gonna actually just run this. All right. What do I see here? 11,000 records. Now you see each one of these records, like the years, is for one listing. For one listing. That's why you have 11,000. That's why we have 11,000. We haven't applied the total query. Now we're gonna apply a total query. Automatically, it's the group by listed year. Now just run it. You see, we haven't like applied anything, but just the fact that we apply a total, it tries to group them and summarize them. It shows you have 3 unique groups here. 3 unique groups. That's what it means to summarize the results, right? That's why I say pay attention before you choose that, because once you choose it for a query, your result will be different. So you want to make sure that if you choose a total query, it's actually a total query. If I apply that, I will see 3 records. Okay. If I don't have it, I will see 11,000 records. The difference is that the total will summarize them, and for each group, it will show you 1 record. Will show you 1 record for each group, or for each value in the group. All right, group by each year, and then show me. Yes. Sure. So, listed year, add a colon, a space, and then year function. Inside the parentheses, you want to go to this table and then find the column that you want to extract the year, the date from. So we found like the listing date, and then once you double click it, it will be added to the function or to that area. Okay. All right. Now here, I want to count how many listings we have. Again, which column do we use for counting the records? Always go with the primary key of that table, because then makes sense. For each year, I want to see how many listings we have. We want to count the listings. So we change this to count. Change this to count. Okay, if we run this, now we can see for each year how many listings we have. If you add them up, now you can see it's about 11,000, right? It's 11,000. If I made a mistake and used, for example, sum here, I would have a very large number. Very large number. It will tell me I've added up random numbers. That's why I'm getting such a big number here. What if I ask you to show me total number of listings for each, instead of having for each year, I would say, okay, I change it and say total number of listings, for example, for each, all right, instead of year, let's say in 2017. Okay. Sometimes this could happen, and like not always you get these type of like keywords. Even in this case, the only difference would be that, hey, apply here in the criteria row 2017, and then you will have for 2017 total number of listings. So the only difference was that you needed to specifically apply. Always pay attention to what you're asked to show in the output table. It will give you a lot of hints. The output table should show listing year and number of properties. This is very helpful to identifying what you should see in the output table and what you should create in the output table for the output table. Okay. All right, next question. I want to give you 5 minutes to work on this question. Okay. It is number 3. Work on it, and then I'll also like set up the attendance in the meantime so we can save some time. Okay, so make sure to take the attendance on as well. If you worked on this and quickly had a question, I can check it. We are gonna work on it, but in the meantime, if you want to show me your queries. So you give it the month, which will put the number of profit. And then you want the We'll start. Yes. All right. So let's go back here. Okay. A lot of times, I think the easiest way to go around like these queries is to start with the output table, because it's the easiest one to like go over and make sure that we're right. We have to show this in the output table. If that's the case, I'm gonna have to like add it. So in the output table, I need to show listing month and the number of properties listed for each month. So I have 2 columns. I have 2 columns, listed month and number of properties listed. Is this a total query or regular query? For each month, every record is going to show the month and total number of listings. So I have to count them, right, for each month to show that, like, for each month, how many listings we have. Even if I'm not sure, I will go around and I start from here. Say, okay, first, I need a month. I need a month column, listed month. I need a column. So I need to add it here. Okay. I don't have it. I will create it listed month. Okay. I will use the format function here. Just a quick reminder here. Okay. Property listing and then listed date and add this ems. Okay. To be able to add. So from the output table, I realized one of the columns I want is a listed month. Okay. So I created it using the format function. Listed month column format inside it, a month, like months column, and then specifying the 4ems for month. And then I want to show properties. Okay, property listing. Okay, if I add just the property ID here, and I run this, what do I see here? Again, I see 11,000. So for each listing, I'm seeing the month and property ID, okay, for each month. All right. What happens if I change this to a total query? Okay. When I say, we also remember, right? So property ID, if you're using it, you're using it for calculation, but that calculation is also limited. So only count. For each month, I want to see how many listings we have. I want to see how many listings we have for each month. All right. So if I run this, every record, it will show in April. In April, we had 800 listings. For each month, every listing for each record here shows each month total number of listings. Total number of listings. This column is not one column of any of these tables. It's the aggregation. It's the outcome of counting the records in a table. That's why it's a total query. That's what we we could publish it. We could create it using a total query. That we say what is our group and what is our calculation. For each month, we want to see total number of listings. All right. Sometimes I see this mistake, and I've seen this quite enough to mention it here. For example, in 2016, or even like for the months, when we see like an exact value, I've seen this common mistake that some confuse this and say, I'm going to add listing date here, okay? And then in the criteria row, specify 2016. Okay, I'm going to specify listing date and then 2016. What is the problem here? You're saying listing date equal to 2016. But 2016 is not a date, it's a number, right? So you should pay attention to this mistake. This is a common mistake, and it's like that's why we want to mention it here. Listing date is 2016. No, the listing year has to be equal to 2016. So do I need to keep this here and then again create a new column for year? No, we only add the columns that we need. So in this case, I only need a new column, and this one is going to be year listed. Okay, year listed. Let's use the year function here again. Tables, property listing, listing date. All right. This will give us now a new column. It will give us a new column. You're not applying any filters here. You're just We want to make sure that we have the column and then apply the filter in the next step. So I will create the new column listed here. Okay. Now here I can say 2016. Okay, 2016. Before that, I want to show you what happens if you had this and then run the tables. All right. So what you're seeing in the output table now is changed. It is showing you for each month, but then you're like for the same month, you're seeing two records. Why? You said if you have one group, you should see one record per group. And the query is asking you for each month, show me total number of listings. Here's the thing. Once you specify a column as a group by, it is going to become a group. So you want to pay attention to carefully select each one of these labels for each column. Here, for each month, count total number of properties. Okay. When we say 2016, we get these like rows, and then it says for each month in 2016, total number of listings. In this case, you're using it only to filter the result. Okay. And also it comes with the fact that the output table is telling us something. Listing month and then number of listings. If it was a group, it would have asked us to show it in the output table that says for each month and each year, total number of listings. It didn't. So here we are using it only for a filter, and we are not showing it out in the output table. Another mistake, common mistake. Okay, I realized that I don't need to show it in the output table, or I shouldn't show it in the output table. One common mistake is that I will hide it from the output table. This is incorrect because you just specified it as a group by. If it's a group by, you will have to show it in the output table. All right, so this is not correct. So how about this? Use the where. When you use where, when a column, okay, when you specify in the total row something as where, when you're using it to only filter the results. To only filter the results. That's when you specify it as where. And then you will see that it automatically unchecks that. It identify when it's a where, you're just saying, let's read it, right? Okay. For each month, show me total number of listings, properties of listings, where listing year is equal to 2016. Where listing year is equal to 2016. Now it matches what we have here. Okay. All right, this will be our output. All right. Any question? Are we good? Yes. Yes. All right, I will. Any question about the query? No? Are we good? All right. Make sure to study like the practices that we've done. We'll do a practice on Monday. I have another practice with the solution as well. The homework is due Sunday. Again, that Monday got canceled, so it kind of like pushed us one session forward. So I would have given you more time to work on it. But now we need to be prepared for the midterm exam. So that's why I set it to Monday, like Sunday night. All right. Have a good weekend. I'll see you on Monday. What is it? Yeah. For the attend, okay.